If you think the world is stable right now, think again. Beneath the surface of every booming market, every confident investor, and every optimistic forecast lies an invisible pressure waiting to burst. 2026 won't be an ordinary year. It will be a stress test for your financial awareness, your discipline, and your preparation. We are entering an era where money loses meaning faster than it's earned, where inflation silently steals your savings, and where traditional systems are being rewritten by global forces beyond our control. Most people will walk into it blind. But a few, those who act now, will not only survive, they'll gain freedom while the rest scramble to catch up. The truth is simple: wealth in the next cycle won't belong to those who made the most money. It will belong to those who own the right assets. Real freedom doesn't come from your income. It comes from protection, security, and adaptability. When everything becomes uncertain, 7 forms of assets stand between survival and collapse. These are not random investments. They're lifelines designed to hold value when currencies fall, economies freeze, and trust disappears. And in 2026, they'll matter more than ever. The first shift you must understand is psychological. The old rules of comfort no longer apply. The people who cling to normal will be the first to fall. The markets are moving faster, governments are reacting slower, and technology is changing the structure of money itself. You cannot afford to just save, you must secure. You cannot afford to just grow, you must preserve. That means thinking beyond paper wealth and into real-world resilience. You need assets that feed you, protect you, and work for you even when systems fail. Among these emergency assets are those that history has always favored in crisis. Tangible stores of value, productive resources, and skill-based income generators. When inflation eats cash, tangible value survives. When supply chains break, ownership of essentials matters. When panic spreads, liquidity and mobility save lives. The right mix of these 7 pillars, whether in commodities, energy, land, innovation, or knowledge, will determine who suffers and who prospers. These are the quiet tools of those who prepare before the noise begins. But owning them isn't enough. Understanding them is what separates survival from stagnation. Most people buy assets they don't comprehend, following trends instead of principles. You must go deeper. Study why each one matters, how it behaves under pressure, and how it interacts with the others. True security isn't built on luck, it's built on clarity. And when you understand how to position yourself strategically, you stop fearing crisis and start using it as leverage. As 2026 approaches, remember this: the global system is resetting. Debt is high, trust is low, and change is accelerating. You can't stop what's coming, but you can shape how it affects you. The people who prepare today will inherit tomorrow. The ones who ignore the warnings will watch their comfort disappear overnight. So listen carefully, because the 7 emergency assets I'll share with you are not just investments. They are shields. They are tools of freedom. They are your ticket to independence in a world that's rapidly losing control. Stay to the end, because missing even one could mean the difference between surviving the next wave and being swallowed by it. Would you like me to now expand each of the 7 emergency assets into separate 500-word keynote sections next, like we did with the previous speech? Every major turning point in history begins the same way, quietly. There's a deceptive calm that lulls people into believing the worst is behind them. Markets rise, headlines cheer, and confidence returns just before the tide shifts. That's exactly where we stand as 2026 approaches. The surface looks stable, but underneath there's tension, economic, political, and psychological, building with every passing month. The calm before the storm isn't peace, it's warning. And those who mistake silence for safety are the ones most likely to be swept away when the storm finally hits. The problem is, people have short memories. They forget how fast everything can change. They forget that in every crash, from the Great Depression to the global recessions that followed, the signs were visible long before the collapse. The world always gives us clues: unsustainable debt, inflated assets, political division, and rising costs of living. Yet most ignore them because comfort feels better than caution. They want to believe the system is too strong to fail, that growth will last forever, and that governments will always find a way to fix things. But belief doesn't stop reality. It only delays action. By the time fear replaces denial, it's too late to prepare. The calm before the storm is also psychological. It gives people a false sense of control. They see their accounts growing, their jobs secure, their homes appreciating, and they assume that means the system is healthy. But stability built on debt and speculation is not stability, it's illusion. When pressure builds beneath the surface, the explosion becomes inevitable. The question isn't if it will happen, it's who will be ready when it does. Those who pay attention now, those who build their defenses before the first strike, will not only survive the storm, they'll use it to grow stronger. This calm period is your signal, not your shelter. It's the time to act, to rebalance, to diversify, to rethink your priorities. It's the window to secure the emergency assets that protect you from inflation, devaluation, and panic. Because when the winds start to turn, speed matters more than comfort. The people who prepare early move with purpose. Those who wait for proof move with fear. And fear is the most expensive reaction of all. The storm doesn't destroy everyone, it only destroys the unprepared. As we move toward 2026, the warning lights are flashing again: global debt soaring, currencies weakening, economy slowing, and trust eroding. This is not the time to relax, it's the time to fortify. The calm before the storm is your chance to position yourself wisely, to gather the assets that will hold their worth when the system begins to shake. Because when the calm breaks, it won't be gentle. And the difference between collapse and freedom will come down to one thing: whether you use this calm to prepare or wasted it believing the storm would never arrive. Most people spend their lives chasing the illusion of wealth. They equate success with the size of their house, the brand of their car, or the digits in their bank account. But real wealth isn't about how much you have. It's about how much you can keep when everything else collapses. Possession gives you comfort, protection gives you freedom. And as we move toward 2026, that difference will decide who remains secure and who loses everything. Because the truth is, you don't own your wealth unless it can survive inflation, crisis, and uncertainty. Anything that depends on stability for its value isn't truly yours. We live in a time when numbers on a screen define security. People watch their accounts grow and call it wealth, yet few realize that those numbers are only as strong as the system that supports them. Inflation silently eats away at the value of money. Debt ties people to fragile structures, and overconfidence blinds them to risk. You can have millions in currency and still be poor when that currency loses its power to buy. You can have assets and still be weak if they can't hold value under pressure. Protection means building something that endures, assets that survive regardless of what happens to the market, the government, or the global order. The truly wealthy think differently. They don't measure success by accumulation, but by resilience. They understand that protection starts with diversification, not just across assets, but across systems. They own things that can't be printed, hacked, or devalued overnight. They own land, resources, skills, and forms of value that hold steady even when trust disappears. Real wealth is silent, strategic, and patient. It's built to last, not to impress. It doesn't depend on endless growth. It depends on intelligent balance. This is the mindset shift the world must face before the next wave hits. The era of easy money is over. The coming years will reward those who built for endurance, not expansion. When uncertainty rises, liquidity, utility, and independence become the new currencies. Owning assets that feed you, house you or generate value without permission from others becomes a form of freedom. That's what protection truly means, being self-reliant when systems fail and unshaken when the world trembles. So as 2026 approaches, stop chasing more and start protecting what matters. Ask yourself, if everything froze tomorrow, markets, banks, or borders, what would still hold value in your hands? That answer defines your real wealth. Because when inflation surges, economies wobble, and systems reset, the winners won't be those who own the most, they'll be those who owned what lasts. Protection isn't the opposite of growth. It's the foundation of it. And those who understand that will walk through the storm untouched, while others learn too late that possession without protection is just an illusion. When the tides of the global economy shift, most people cling to what's familiar. They hold on to their paper wealth, their traditional investments, and their trust in institutions that are already crumbling beneath the surface. But the world that's coming in 2026 won't reward those who cling. It will reward those who build lifeboats before the flood. The 7 emergency assets are not about greed or speculation. They are about survival, freedom, and leverage in a system that's rapidly losing balance. These are the tools that protect your future when everything else turns to chaos. Think of the economy as an ocean, beautiful when calm, deadly when rough. The majority enjoy the smooth waves, unaware of how deep the water really is. But when the storm hits, only those with lifeboats make it to shore. These lifeboats are built from assets that don't just survive uncertainty. They thrive in it. They include tangible stores of value that can't be erased by inflation, resources that meet real human needs, and assets that create independence from failing systems. Some of them are physical, like commodities or land. Others are intellectual, like skills or knowledge that produce value no matter where you are. Together, they form the backbone of true resilience. Each of these 7 assets serves a different purpose. Some protect, some produce, and some preserve. But their strength lies in how they work together. In a fragile system, you don't want all your value trapped in one form. You need balance between liquidity and tangibility, between protection and productivity. That's how you outlast chaos. These lifeboats are not built overnight. They're assembled piece by piece through discipline, education, and strategic thinking. The earlier you start, the more stable your position becomes when the wave arrives. The beauty of these assets is that they give you control in a world where most people are losing it. When currencies weaken, you hold something real. When markets crash, you still have value that serves human needs. When panic rises, your foundation stands firm. These assets aren't designed to make you rich quickly. They're designed to keep you free permanently. They buy you time, security, and peace of mind when others are running in fear. The 7 lifeboats of the new economy are your map through the uncertainty ahead. Each one represents a different way to detach your future from fragile systems, to make sure your survival doesn't depend on someone else's stability. Because when the next financial storm hits, the difference between losing everything and staying free won't come down to luck or timing. It will come down to whether you built your lifeboats while the water was still calm. The ones who prepare will float. The rest will sink, still holding their illusions of safety. The choice is yours, but the clock is already ticking. In times of crisis, the assets that endure are the ones you can see, touch, and control. Tangibility is power. When the abstract systems of finance, currencies, stocks, digital numbers begin to wobble, the real economy doesn't vanish. People still need food, water, shelter, energy, and connection. Those who own the means to provide these things, or who possess the skills to create them, stand at the center of stability. The illusion of wealth built on paper evaporates quickly when inflation surges or institutions falter. But tangible assets, like productive land, physical commodities, and essential resources, hold their value because they exist beyond trust. They're not promises, they're proof. The coming years will test how people define wealth. For decades, we've been conditioned to measure it through digits on a screen or market performance. But true wealth lies in independence, the ability to live and function regardless of economic turbulence. Owning tangible assets transforms you from a spectator of the system to a participant in reality. For example, owning land that produces food isn't just an investment, it's a lifeline. Holding metals that have been stores of value for thousands of years isn't speculation. It's a hedge against the erosion of faith in paper money. Even something as overlooked as access to clean energy or a reliable water source can mean the difference between panic and peace. But tangibility isn't just about physical things, it's about control. Independence comes from assets that you understand, manage, and can access without relying on permission or intermediaries. In 2026 and beyond, this will be crucial. The world is digitizing rapidly, and while technology offers convenience, it also concentrates control. Centralized systems from banking to energy grids make life easier until they don't. When they fail or tighten restrictions, those without alternatives are left vulnerable. That's why independence, both financial and practical, has to be part of your preparation. It's not paranoia, it's prudence. Building independence doesn't happen overnight. It begins with awareness, understanding where your dependencies lie, and then gradually replacing them with ownership. The ability to grow food, generate income through valuable skills, or store wealth outside of volatile currencies are not luxuries. They're forms of resilience. Every tangible asset you acquire becomes a wall against uncertainty, every skill a weapon against vulnerability. The world is moving into a period where self-sufficiency will become a luxury for some and a necessity for others. Those who start building it now will not only survive the coming storm, they'll shape what comes after it. In essence, the future belongs to those who are anchored in reality. Digital wealth can vanish in an instant, but real assets, land, metals, skills, and energy endure. They can't be hacked, frozen, or inflated away. Owning them means owning your future. And in a world where control is the ultimate currency, independence is the highest form of wealth. Financial freedom in 2026 will not come from chasing the next big investment or timing the market perfectly. It will come from preparation, strategy, and discipline. The people who thrive in uncertain times are those who built strong foundations while others were distracted by comfort or illusion. True financial freedom isn't about how much you make when things are good. It's about how much control you keep when things fall apart. The key is not to depend on any single system or income stream, but to create a structure of wealth that can adapt, shift, and sustain itself in every condition. The first step toward this kind of freedom is clarity. You must understand the landscape you're living in, where the risks lie, what assets are overvalued, and how global forces like debt, inflation, and policy are shaping your future. Financial ignorance is a silent killer of freedom. Most people lose everything not because they're unlucky, but because they never took the time to understand the game they're playing. The new era demands financial literacy as much as it demands courage. Preparation begins with awareness, knowing how your money moves, where it's vulnerable, and how to position it beyond the reach of chaos. From there, strategy takes over. Financial freedom is built on diversification, not in the shallow sense of owning a mix of stocks and bonds, but in a deeper sense, diversifying across systems, geographies, and types of value, holding tangible assets alongside digital ones, owning productive skills along with investments, having multiple income streams instead of one job. These are the pillars of lasting independence. Each step you take to decentralize your wealth is a step away from fragility. Freedom isn't the absence of risk, it's the ability to stay stable despite it. Discipline is the force that binds preparation and strategy together. It's not enough to know what to do. You must consistently act on it. This means living below your means, avoiding unnecessary debt, and reinvesting in assets that preserve value rather than drain it. It means resisting the noise of speculation and short-term thinking, focusing instead on long-term resilience. Most people chase profits, few chase peace. Yet peace of mind is the ultimate return on investment. When your wealth works without constant fear or dependency, you have achieved true financial freedom. In the coming years, financial freedom will no longer be a dream. It will be a survival skill. Those who plan, prepare, and protect their assets now will not only endure the turbulence ahead, they'll have the power to shape opportunity from it. The storms of 2026 will expose weakness, but they will also reveal strength. If you've built your foundation wisely, you won't just withstand the crisis. You'll rise above it, freer and more independent than ever before. Because freedom at its core isn't given, it's built. And those who build it now will own the future. As we approach 2026, the world stands on the edge of transformation. Economies are shifting, currencies are weakening, and the systems that once promised stability are showing deep cracks. But within this uncertainty lies a rare opportunity, the chance to rebuild your foundation on something unshakable. The future will not reward those who wait for clarity, it will reward those who create it. The 7 emergency assets, the principles of tangibility, independence, and strategic preparation, are not just ideas. They're the blueprint for survival and prosperity in a time when both are under threat. The truth is simple: every crisis resets the game. Most people will cling to comfort, hoping the old system recovers, while a few will use this moment to evolve. Financial freedom in the next era will belong to those who act now, those who understand that control, not luck, determines destiny. When the next storm hits, it won't matter how loud the world panics or how fast the markets fall. What will matter is what you've built, what you own, what you know, and how you've positioned yourself to stand when others fall. You have 2 choices: be part of the collapse or part of the rebuilding. The decisions you make today, what you invest in, what you learn, how you prepare, will define your place in that new world. Don't wait for the system to protect you. Protect yourself. Build your lifeboats while the waters are still calm, because when the tides rise, those who prepared will not only survive, they'll lead. The future doesn't belong to the fearful. It belongs to the prepared.